Hi, friends, family, returning listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Mumbi Ndegwa. And before you say it, yes, I know it's been like 2 weeks of no podcast, no nothing. I truly apologize for that. I'd actually started recording a series on an interesting slash controversial topic, but I chose to put a hold on that to first talk about something I've been meaning to talk about for the last like 5 years. Okay. Yeah, so before we dive in, I also just want to mention that I'm dealing with a bit of a sore throat. So, in case my voice gets a little cracky or I have to clear it now and then, please bear with me and accept my apologies in advance. Yeah, you are good people. I know you will. So, shaky voice and all, I didn't want it to be a reason not to show up this week for this very important conversation. And this conversation is especially really meaningful to share. Why? Because for me, it's not just talk, because I know what it's like to wrestle with thoughts of giving up in life. Yeah, like been there, done that. And I know you've already seen the title of this audio podcast, so you already know what it's about. And 13, let's say 10 to 13 years ago, I was in that place myself. And if you followed me for a while or you're new here, you might see or you might remember that the second video I ever did here was like 5 years ago. Yeah, right at the peak of COVID. And it was on self-harm. Yeah. And that was supposed to be like a series. It's something that I felt passionate to talk about. I felt like I needed to get the word out there. But at that time, I wasn't able to continue. I wasn't able to do a part two. People who come across my channel keep saying, you never finished that video. And yes, honestly, a huge part of why I never continued with that is because these struggles, were still part of my story. And I just couldn't get myself to boldly talk about them just yet. But today I'm here with all my heart. I want to show up. This is me breaking the silence. So whether you're a person of faith, whether you've been questioning, whether you've been in this situation and you're searching for hope, I just want to welcome you here. Cracks in the voice and all. Okay. Yeah. So we'll start. Like I said, so back then I couldn't get myself to continue the part two because the struggle was still like so close. Like from time to time I still wondered whether this life is worth carrying on. And yeah, it's crazy how people don't notice such things. Like you could be contemplating to just end your life and the people around you wouldn't know. But anyway, today let's just take things a step further. Not because really, quote unquote, I have arrived, no, but because years later I still see how vital it is to talk about these wounds, even if they are healed or not fully healed, for someone who might be going through the same and has been contemplating talking to people about it, but they still feel like they aren't healed. So yeah, one misconception is that most people think that Christians are immune to battles like depression, suicidal thoughts, and it's honestly false. It's like the question of can a born again Christian struggle with say pornography or masturbation? Yes, they can. Can a believing Christian still have addictions? Yes, they can. Can a believing Christian have bouts of hopelessness and questions on whether life is worth living? And yes, they can. Just because you're Christian doesn't mean you're immune to these things. And okay, with time, you get to an understanding, because I mean, once you have like fully grasped Christianity and what it entails and what we carry as Christians because of our belief, I want to say you sort of become quote unquote immune to some of these things. But the misconception that because you're Christian you can't go through some things or you are completely immune is just false. Yeah, this is my opinion. In case you have any different thoughts about the same, just feel free to post it down in the comment section. Okay, so in churches or just basically in your Christian walk, we are often told that you're supposed to have faith, pray about it. Sorry. There's a post I used to post a lot on my socials around that time 5 years ago, or yeah, when I first thought to talk about suicidal thoughts. And it was on, you can't, like, I used to find it so hard to accept when you try to talk to someone about a situation and they're like, try Jesus, have faith, pray about it. But the thing with mental pain or physical issues, challenges, situations is that you can't just place a band-aid like over it. And that's what it really looked like to me. It's like, I'm telling you I'm struggling with 1 to 3 things and you are like, pray about it, try Jesus can, like hey. It was so hard for me to accept such statements as help. One, because I fully believed that physical, mental, like bodily, what's it called, issues, challenges should be sorted out with something physical, not something spiritual. Now I know that we are spirits and we have a body, and we have a soul and we live in a body. That I have come to a full understanding of. And I see now how, if your spirit man is strong, then it won't take long before your body and your mind and basically your soul catch up to that good state that you're in. But yeah, this is like a continuation of the part 2 that I would have done 5 years ago. Sorry, I'm a bit all over the place, or I feel like I am. But yeah, so basically such statements for me about my mental pain, they didn't help at all. Okay, like, so I had to sort of learn in secret, like wrestling with that darkness, with the shame and all of that. But slowly by slowly I see how God also invites us to bring our pain into the light. There are many stories in the Bible of people who are like in deep anguish. Um, right now we give labels to these things and it sort of like amplifies the issue, but things like anxiety, depression, like you go through a slight, like the slightest minor inconvenience and you're like, oh my god, I'm so depressed. Or everyone, apparently like 90% of people now struggle with anxiety and stuff like that. I'm not trying to invalidate your trauma, no. I'm just saying also labeling these things and casually just claiming them, quote unquote, really just doesn't help. But anyway, so I was talking about how many people in the Bible have experienced some sort of deep anguish or feelings of even loneliness, abandonment. Yeah, like Jesus himself. And was it Peter or Paul who was talking about how he feels as though he has a thorn in his flesh? Yeah, I've been there, done that. I don't know if you've ever experienced such a thing, but yeah, Jesus being a key example in this, he understands it because he himself had to endure it. In the book of Psalms, chapter 34, verse 18, it says that the Lord is near to the brokenhearted and he saves those who are crushed in spirit. And to me, that just says that the Lord is near to the depressed. Yeah, that feeling of brokenheartedness, you feel like you're crushed, like your very will to live is just crushed. So that particular verse, Psalms 34:18, became a lifeline for me in those dark days. So just pause a bit to tell you my real story. And I've mentioned it kidogo up in the beginning that 13 years ago, I was ready to give up. I felt like nothing was possible, like hope was not even within reach. So I was in high school. Things at home were not quite okay. Nothing like too extreme, but yeah, things were not okay. And then in school, I was doing really well until I wasn't. You know how you enter high school and then like Form 1, Form 2, you're okay, and then Form 3, I don't know what happens. Yeah. So I don't know if it was a mixture of that, feeling like I'm not doing well for myself because like ever since I was in nursery, now they have kindergarten and all that, but yeah, ever since I was in nursery, I wasn't like I'd never been a bad performer. I was a bright student, A student. Like, yeah. I don't know what happened in high school. My mom says it's the company I kept. I don't know why I laughed, but I don't know. It just happened like it happened. And I also didn't have a good relationship with my mom. Thank God that now I can actually say my mom and I are friends. Yeah, like, yeah, of course, she's my mom first, but I feel like we are friends now and we can openly talk about things to each other. But 13 years ago, that was not the case. And I thought that pain, or now the self-doubt, feeling like a failure. A funny thing, when I was in high school, I never like dated. From primary into high school, no, like it's not even like I was in a relationship, so I can't say that the person I was with was making me feel a certain kind of way. No, actually, I first dated in Form 3, and not after I start, not before I started failing. Like, the relationship is not what made things go like downhill. No, it wasn't. But all this pain that I was feeling, I felt like it sort of disqualified me from deserving good things or even being loved by God. And note, the first time I ever got born again was actually in high school. In high school, Form 2, third term, on October 3rd, I first gave my life to Christ. And that was not the only time. Let's just say I had to rededicate my life to Christ like severally. But that was the first time. But somehow I couldn't get myself to believe that I was even being loved by God. Yeah. But the gift of friendship, slowly, through friends who listened, through scripture that spoke to me, I started to learn that God wasn't disgusted by my suffering, that He was right there with me in those trenches, feeling it with me, because we've talked about it here before, how God is a relational God. He feels, He gets angry, He gets sad, He get yeah. Special shout out to Ivy Wangoy. I don't know if she listened to this. She was my first friend in primary when I joined a school called New Light. And then we found ourselves in the same high school, and she held my hand in a special way. She might not even know that by now. And funny thing, we are still friends, not as close, but yeah, we still talk from time to time. And yeah, thank you, Ivy. That's just all I'll say here. I'll text you. So sometimes we feel like we have like religious cliches, that's what it seemed like to me. Like, just pray more, you're not spiritual enough. And all of this just somehow added to that stigma. But the more I read the Bible also, the more I saw raw stories like of people like Elijah. And Elijah is one of like my favorite people in the Bible. His story, like, I love Elijah and his faith and just everything about his story. But I also see areas where he begged God to end his life. We're talking about 1 Kings chapter 19. Like, he and I'd been there. I'd been in situations where I would just cry to God, write in my diary and cry and tell God, now, you see, I'm going to tell you how we are going to sort this out. We can just put an end to my life, and it will end my suffering, it will end my pain, it will end all these negative thoughts that are just crushing me. And just to see that this person whose faith and whose, inspiring stories used to make me feel, hey, what a man, in Elijah, now I see this part of him and I'm like, oh, okay. Then you go on and you read stories of like David, who the Bible says that David was a man after God's own heart. But David used to sin. Who sees like a lady bathing and you sleep with her, you plot to get her husband like killed in war? Like, David, honestly. But we see David also weeping and writing in his agony in Psalms. And I didn't feel like, from the Bible, it didn't make them seem like because they were in this pain, they were less faithful, or now they, like it was unrealistic. It actually made me feel like these people were even more human. Yeah. And okay, this video is going to be a bit long, but you guys have been telling me to do longer videos. When I say you guys, I mean like 2-3 people. So yeah, here's that. I will break this into two parts. So from the Bible, we see God rarely promising to erase our suffering. When I read books like Romans, chapter 8, from verse 38 up to 39, God actually just promises us his presence. Yeah. In this life, you will go through trials, and all these people, they will reject you because they rejected me. But be of good courage, for I have overcome the world. You are in this world, but you are not of it. It gave me so much hope just to know that, some of these things need the process. Just trust it. Even if the process is not trusting, you just trust the process, because some of these life things, you just have to get through them and not around. But just know that even as you get through them, Jesus is right there with you. God is right there with you. He sees you. He's with you in that pit, and you will get out of it. Yeah, don't give up too soon. I know it's hard at that point because you don't see the bigger picture, but it's great to know that Jesus, God reminds us that nothing, neither death nor life nor anything in all this creation, can separate us from his love. He loves us. Yeah, that was also quite an anchor for me in those waves of hopelessness. Other things that helped was reaching out, even shakingly, to someone else. I remember I went through counseling later on in Form 4. I feel like it really, really helped. I had great friends who I could reach out, and they'd, just hold my hand through it all. I'm just going to mention two of them, Ivy and Chipto. Pray, honestly. Tell God about the darkness, not because he doesn't know, but because he answers. Yeah, you might not know when you're reading the Bible that this particular passage is an answer to your question, because you haven't really asked what the question is. You haven't voiced the question. Yeah. And yeah, also let church community into your mess, because for me, I had to go through different, read the Bible at random, because I didn't even know how exactly I was reading it. I was one of those people who just say, I will open my Bible and the first thing I see is what God wants me to know. Nafungua Bible and I read, and sometimes it wouldn't make any sense what I was doing, but because of the church friends that I had at that time, they'll tell me, this thing that you're feeling is actually in the Bible. Read tonight during preps, this and this and this, and you'll see how it relates to this. So they really sort of quickened that process of me getting out of my suicidal thoughts and all that. And yeah, so if you're struggling now, if these are thoughts that you're having now, take this as a gentle nudge to talk about it. The road might be long. Like I said, this is something I experienced 10 to 13 years ago. 5 years back from now, this is 8 years after all that, I still couldn't get myself to talk about it. So sometimes the road is long, but I want you to know that your pain is seen and you are never really alone. Yeah? Okay, so I love you. Like I said, I'll do this in 2 parts. So this is not the end. I'm going to do a part 2. And yeah, until then, share this with a friend who you think needs it. Comment anything you'd like to say about this particular topic. This is September. It's Suicide Prevention Month. You never know what life you could be saving. Okay, so yeah, God bless and bye.